Okay, guys, or whoever is in the other side watching, welcome to my first podcast, and this is the story of my life. Initially, I was born in Newark, New Jersey. My mom um, gave me birth to me here, and I am the only one in my family who was born in the United States. Um, and that led me to being here by myself since I ever moved back. Just to kind of shorten the story, my mom lived in the DR, just a normal Dominican woman, and obviously lived with my dad, but my grandpa was in the States and my grandpa was very sick. So, which is my mom's dad. So my mom came to the state to take care of him. And while she was in the States, she got diagnosed with hepatitis B and she was very sick and went to the hospital. So they didn't allow her to leave the hospital. So in all that process, I was born. While she was severely sick, it was a complicated, birth. But I survived. I'm here. Um, and obviously, I don't remember that. I never remember, living in the States because since very little, I moved back to the DR. That's where I grew up. That's the culture that I grew up with. And I'm just fully Dominican and I'm proud of it. My childhood was very good. My mom and dad, they made sure that I didn't miss anything. My dad was an engineer, or it is an engineer, and my mom has owned the store since I have a memory. So, they made sure I was raised correctly. They put me in good schools and they made sure that I learned, what was good and what was bad, and I stayed a good kid. While I was growing up, when I was about 8 years old, I remember I was at school and one of my friends invited me to the baseball field. It was something that my family never really taught me about, sports. They always wanted me to be a smart kid, a scholar. But, that day came and my friend invited me to go to the baseball field and play some baseball. Once I got to the baseball field, I felt like something was just right about that place. And it had nothing to do with my skills. I didn't have any skills. I honestly really sucked at it. But that was what kept bringing me back. Because I could have seen how the friend that invited me was really good at it. And the other kids, they were also way better than me. And that challenged me into being like, whoa, if they can do it, probably I can do it too, right? So I kept coming back every single Saturday, trying to hit better, trying to throw better, trying to catch the ball, because I probably couldn't even done that before at that time. So baseball impacted my life very, very early. It impacted my life in the way that I was a chubby kid. Maybe I can put like a picture of myself when I was that age, but I was a chubby kid. So I didn't have any, gifted physical conditions. But baseball let me know that, especially that young, you just need to hit the ball. So that kept bringing me back. I remember I asked my family to go get a rubber ball so I can go to the street right next to my house and throw it at a wall and catch a ground ball. And I will do that a lot. I was in love with the sport instantly. I wanted to be better. Years passed, and I got a little better, a little better. And I realized that if I wanted to keep getting better, I had to go from going only on Saturdays and going more days during the week. So that's where I brought it up to my family, and I was like, hey, like, I need to keep getting better at this. I need to go to a more serious academy. And that's when there was a little bit of resistance because my family wanted me to be a scholar. My family wanted me to just focus on school and just be like my dad, an electromechanical engineer. But something kept calling me, go back to the field, go get better. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world, thinking back. And finally, I got them to bring me to a more serious Little League academy, and I started going more often. And it was really eye-opening at that point because the more I came back, the more I realized that I was not that good at it. There was older kids that been playing for more years. They were way more skilled than me, and I was just really far behind. But that's another thing that kept bringing me back, because I was like, and thinking back, man, when I was a kid, I always had this mentality. This is actually very eye-opening for me because this is truly who I am since I was a kid, and I've never been able to actually talk this out loud like I'm doing it right now. But again, that kept bringing me back, and I kept trying and trying and trying until one person, Jonathan, if you're watching this, you probably remember this. But one time we were hitting baseballs against the net, and the coach, which was that guy Jonathan, he told me, or he told all the kids, out of all the kids, he's the strongest here. And that shocked me. That honestly struck me like a truck. I was like, what does he mean? Nobody has ever said anything about my abilities as a baseball player, but he was the first one to actually believe in me. And I remember that same day after practice, he pulled me apart. I don't know what he saw in me, but he saw something. He saw that I was strong and that I was actually trying to hit the ball hard, because maybe that was the only advantage that I had against the older kids. And he pulled me apart and he was like, have you ever thought about being a professional baseball player? And I was like, I mean, kind of, but not really. I didn't know. I didn't have I wasn't grasping that idea that I can make a living out of it. But he was the first one to talk to me about that. So I started going to the field way more often. I would get out of school, go home, eat, put my cleats on, put everything on, and head to the field to get better. And that was my first early taste of what being a true athlete was. I started losing weight. I started getting more athletic, seeing the first ever real improvement when it comes to performance. And after that, I just been addicted to it. I love the way that your body can really adapt from not so good to a little good. And that's what made me fall in love with performance and athletics. Fast forward, when I was about to go to 9th grade, my dad wanted me to go to a technical school. I don't know how that will be called in the States, but it's a school that is very challenging. It's longer hours. And if you go to that school, you're fully focused on academics, not sports. So I told my dad that if I was gonna go to that school, I was not gonna be able to play baseball. And I said it really concerned. And my dad said, I don't care what you think. You gotta do what I tell you to do. And that's about it. And I know he wanted the best for me. I don't hold that against him at all. He just wanted to see me win in a different way. Because I was smart, I always had good grades. But that really shocked me and really let me start to think as somebody that owns his life or their life. So that was the first time where I had to take a decision on my own to keep following my dreams. So I purposely just didn't do good on the admission test. And my dad was super disappointed. I feel like my relationship with me and my dad was never the same. But that started my journey as actually following full speed, all in my dreams. And I did very good. I got very athletic all the way until I was 16 years old. I was killing it. I was practicing very hard, trying to play really hard. And I got to the point where I got attention from scouts, from coaches, and from other athletes. I was that kid that can hit the shit out of the ball, and I was just a good baseball player. And when you're in the Dominican Republic, some of you might know this, you sign when you are 16. So I was very close to signing, and then the unexpected happened. I got injured. I pulled both of my hamstrings in 2 tryouts. In one tryout, I pulled one, and in the other one, I pulled the other one, and that took me 7 months out of the field. After that, I went through a long 7-month recovery, rehab journey. And when I got back, they told me it was too late to sign in the Dominican Republic because everything moved so fast. And my agent at the time just advised me to go to the States. He knew I was an American citizen because I was born here. He said, go to the States, try to get into college, and maybe you can sign there. So I communicated that to my parents. It was a hard decision for everybody. I was trying to, fake it until I make it, but I was super nervous. I was super scared to leave my home, come to the States, and keep pursuing my dreams of being a pro baseball player. And they finally agreed. And at 17 years old, I was living in the States, no mom, no dad, just a brother, just my brother that was here. And yeah, I, had to, learn the school system. It's a new language. Like my English was nearly zero when I moved to the States. So that was very, very difficult because in the area that I was at, there was barely any other Hispanic kids. So I had to learn English, learn the schooling system, because back when I was in the Dominican Republic, you take baseball so serious that you only go to school on Sundays. So academics go to a second, on a second place of importance. Here, I had to go every day again in the States, and that was a hard thing to adapt. But finally, I made it out of high school. I just came to my senior year in the States, made it out of high school, and I had no plans to which college I was gonna go to. It was very difficult. Again, I was barely understanding anything. I don't know how the system of college baseball worked. So I went to a community college, Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And going to college here, I thought, I was always a good baseball player, but I got really comfortable once I got to the States because I thought everything was gonna be given to me because I was good at baseball, right? I was very good at baseball. I've always trained hard, but I didn't understand that that's something that you got to maintain, and you got to keep pushing to see great results. Let me pause here. So, very, I would say, still very immature. I didn't work as hard. I focused on going to work during that summer before I went to college. So I wasn't really training as I should have. I wasn't really, taking care of my body as I should have. Because I was trying to make money, resources were very limited. My mom was here trying to help me out during that summer, so I wanted to help her out back. And I honestly forgot about training. And when I got to college and I got to see the level of talent and that I was behind that level, I got cut from my baseball college team in a community college. And after I got cut, that was a shocking, thing to grasp. So I had to look for other things to basically get my mind on, because now I had all this time in my hands and no baseball. So what I did, I started going to the gym. No structure, no specific routine, no specific plan besides I'm just gonna go get stronger. So I started hitting the gym day in and day out. I don't know if you can notice based on everything I've said, but I have a very intense and obsessive personality. So I started going to that gym literally every day, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a day. And the gym was very close to the coach's office, and the coach will see me in there every day, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a day. As he saw the dedication, like in the second semester in the spring when they were already playing, he called me out to his office one day and tried to give me an opportunity to go play in another school, a smaller school. It was not even NCAA. And again, after being in the spotlight, being seen by scouts, being seen by all these coaches in showcases in the Dominican Republic, I didn't know if that was the right decision to make. I didn't know if I was gonna get that exposure outside of the NCAA, which maybe I was wrong, but at that point I was very mature and I just didn't know. And that was 2020, and that's exactly when COVID happened. The blessing in disguise of my life. So when COVID happened, obviously everything closed up. I went to an aunt's house to live. What was supposed to be 2 weeks turned into 2 months. Was supposed to be 2 months turned into 6 months. And now that opened a new opportunity, because I didn't play college baseball, but nobody in the entire world played college baseball. So the opportunity in this is that I also made me realize that I didn't lose anything. Yeah, I got cut, but I have all these years of eligibility that I can just bounce back. So that's what I did. I decided to come back to sport. I remember when I was at school, I was working cleaning dealerships. So we will go to a dealership, me and a friend of mine, we will go to the dealership, we will clean the showrooms, the part of the mechanics. And I had in my account about $35. Or no, it was like $60 I had. I just remember that I spent all the money I had in a baseball net, a baseball bat, and a dozen of baseballs. And in the backyard of my aunt's house, I started swinging at the net, and I started doing agility work in the street. After COVID, you know, everything was starting to open up. That was in the fall of that year, 2020. I applied to a new school, Keystone College. And Keystone, I have a lot of things to say about Keystone. And I'm very grateful I got to go to that school because, again, it gave me the opportunity to play again. And it gave me the opportunity to keep chasing an education. So when I went to Keystone, I had a girlfriend at the time. And this is very important, guys, for the guys that are watching this podcast, younger guys. Never get in a relationship when you're not mentally ready and you're not, in my sincere experience, I couldn't get in a relationship when I'm not my best self and when I was dealing with insecurities and a lot of pain that I was carrying from my rejections, failures. And when I was, you know, in that relationship, I also found a really, you know, really big struggle with mental health. I was depressed. I didn't know like how to deal with certain emotions. And I struggled to just be happy, right? I don't know if it was time away from my family, isolation when COVID happened, rejection, you know, with baseball when I got cut from that team. But I feel like all those things I always try to suppress. And that led me into not even knowing how to deal with my feelings. So initially, I started running, like long distance running. And that tremendously helped me. And then I started running and hitting the gym at the same time. While I was running and lifting the gym, that was like my only escape during the daytime when baseball season wasn't a thing, like in the fall, in the winters, in the summer. So it got me to a point where I didn't know what I enjoyed more, if it was baseball or if it was just lifting weights. I loved both just as much. But eventually, what really made me fall in love with the gym, lifting weights and making my body stronger, was that my sophomore year, when I came back to the team, the coach looked at me and was like, "Wow, you look stronger." I remember this. And to be honest, that was like the first time in a while that I realized that something I did was going right. I lifted a lot and I went based off a lot of YouTube videos of what the greats do. What do they do to get stronger? What do they do to get more powerful? What do they do to build capacity? So I was just piecing together workout programs that I assumed, based on those YouTube videos, were gonna take me to the results I wanted. And somewhat it did work. People noticed, I got stronger, and I got better at baseball. Unfortunately, that sophomore year, I dislocated my shoulder in the fall. And that led into me now having to rehab my shoulder. And that happened also in the spring, dislocated again. And that also happened as a junior. So injuries were always in the way in my baseball career, not allowing me to fully play a college, career like entirely. But I always found a way to at least get back. Even if it was late in the season, I will get back. And again, based off of YouTube, Instagram. I remember I used to watch Squad University a lot for like shoulder imbalances and mobility and stabilizations, like what are the stabilizers of the shoulders, and I would like just work on that. And after in between those injuries and recovering, I also was partying a lot and realizing that I was partying a lot without being able to afford it. So my senior year of baseball, when I was finally feeling strong, ready to crush it, I didn't get the opportunity to play ever. Like the coaches never really gave me a real chance to play the game. And towards the end of the season, I felt disappointed. Disappointed because I was not taken into consideration or given a real opportunity. So I went and worked. I went and worked in a restaurant as a cook and just focused on putting some money together to buy a car. And while I was doing that, I was also hitting the gym constantly. That was the only thing that always went right and that kept me from doing other maybe bad things, right? I was always in there grinding, taking care of my body. When I finally graduated, one of my friends told me about a summer league in Florida. This is where I'm at right now. He told me that I'm too good of a baseball player to end my career like that, and that I should go with him to this summer league and play baseball. So I put a little bit of more money together, paid that summer league, and came to Florida. And the actual goal that I had was to play that summer league and go into professional baseball. Then playing here, I was playing really good. I felt like a kid again for once, and completely fell in love with the sport. I was crushing it. Things that I did not so good, I was doing it better. The defense work, hitting, running, everything was good. I was playing good. And once again, towards the end of that season, I got injured again. But this time it was not just my shoulder or something that I can just rehab. It was not my hamstring. It was that I tore my ACL. And that was a big realization for me, because now that I look back, that was the initial thing that God put in my way for me to actually get close to Him. Because I realized for once that us as humans, we can only control so much. There's a whole side of life that we just don't control. So when I saw the injury, when I knew that I was not gonna be back anytime soon, that's at least a year recovery, I started looking for jobs in Florida. And I found a health insurance agent job. And I got an interview with Crystal Roberts. She believed in me. She gave me the job. And I was very happy about it, because it's something that I at least get to make a little bit of money while not having to use my knees or my legs at all. I was just gonna sit and make calls. After that got me to learn life, how everything works. Now I have to pay real bills. Now I have to get rent an apartment. And slowly, that just became the new normal. But also with that new normal came the realization that I was getting super, super out of shape. And slowly that started to get me uncomfortable. Yeah, I knew I had a tore ACL and that I needed to get that fixed before I even think about lifting again. So I got the surgery and kept working there. And even though I had some success as a health insurance agent, I thought that everything just didn't matter. I was not the same. I loved the people there, but I was kind of losing myself from that athlete that I once was. That guy that was relentless, pursuing, always, obsessively transforming his body. And I lost the identity of an athlete. One time, I was in my apartment and I was taking a shower and I started crying, sobbing, because I was in the realization that sports was just not a reality for me anymore. It finally hit me. And it was like, it hit me, but I thought the sports, being an athlete was calling me again. I don't just get to do this for sports. That's who I am. And you don't need a sport to be who you really are and who you can really be. So I quit the health insurance agent job and I became a trainer. So I quit the health insurance job and I went and became a trainer. I fell back in love with lifting, even though it was not the same. I was trying to figure things out again to get back into my body, right? Into rehabbing my knee even more to get it at full capacity. And, every single person I came across in that gym I was working at, it was a big commercial gym, saw the love I had for this. So that got me into being super successful really early, earning a spot into management, which they talked to me into it. I thought it was gonna be a great idea, but I ended up hating it because I was not training anybody. It was just a corporate job more than anything. And after working as a personal training manager for 8 months, I realized that I was falling back into the same trap of not working out as hard as I needed to for myself, and losing the touch and the satisfaction to getting other people actually better in their fitness journey. So I quitted that and went independent with my own business as a trainer. More specifically, a strength and conditioning coach. And I founded my business called Prime Phase Performance. And all the things I've learned running my own business is something that I should leave for another video. That's a whole topic on its own. But the most important thing that I've learned is that business is more spiritual than you think. You gotta really be in the position to where you help other people, you serve other people at the highest standard. And I'm still living my journey. Prime Phase Performance is here to stay. I'll see you guys in the next podcast.